When we're learning to use the whole entire bow from frog to tip, there are various ways of going about that, but one really useful thing to do is to divide the bow into 3 unequal parts based on what arm motion makes the bow go straight. The very bottom of the bow, from right under your bow finger, to make the bow go straight, the majority of the motion comes from swinging your shoulder this way. It's a very small piece of bow. You can see I'm driving on the A. You could do it on any string, but A is maybe the easiest place to start. And I'm driving very close to the bridge for 2 reasons. One is we can get some core tone here, and the best tone in terms of big juicy tone is right next to the scratch. And then the other reason is then we can notice if the bow is tracking next to the bridge in a very straight line. And when you're in this frog zone, you want to make sure that your hand is balanced toward the pinky, so that the pinky is the roundest finger in your hand. The middle segment of the bow actually takes up most of the bow length, and that's the segment where you're moving from the V position toward the I position of your arm, and you move through the L as that goes, V, L, I. And the elbow swing is doing most of the work. And as that's happening, the wrist is also working in contrary motion to help the bow drive straight. So here's that segment of bow. The boundaries on these different segments of bow have nothing to do with your bow length, but everything to do with your arm length. And so you need to determine that based on your arm's action rather than the length of your bow. During that segment of bow, the bow hand changes balance quite dramatically from being rather pinky-centric to rather first finger-centric. The third part of the bow is the very tip of the bow, and at the tip we continue opening from the L toward the I position, but in order to keep the bow going straight, the shoulder begins swinging in this way. Because what we have to do is create a straight line out of all these curves in our body. This is the segment where people most naturally tend to go crooked with their bows, because that's happening when you're opening the elbow but not swinging the shoulder in at the same time. And this part of the bow, it is very first finger centric in terms of the balance in your bow hand. So you really want to make sure that you are tracking very close to the bridge to make sure that you're straight. If your arm is short for the length of your bow, you may not be able to reach the tip of the bow with the bow going straight. So it's probably most useful to end further down the bow, wherever your personal tip is in terms of your arm reaching the I position without locking.